Hello, my name is Maria. I am an analyst in the Early Learning and Care Division, ELCD, at the California Department of Education, CDE. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Continued Funding Application, CFA, webinar for fiscal year 2021-22. My colleague Stephen is the other analyst who will be presenting with me today. Before we begin the CFA webinar, we would like to inform you that the following documents will be referenced throughout this presentation. The CFA fiscal year 2021-22 application forms, the CFA fiscal year 2021-22 instructions. To prepare, please have these files open or print out a copy of them to assist you during this webinar. There are important tips that will appear throughout this presentation. They are here to guide contractors so they may avoid some common mistakes in the CFA process. New for this year is an electronic application submission process. Contractors may submit their completed applications via email or by physical mail. Further details about this will be covered later in this presentation. A new question has been added to Section 3, Contractors, Officers, and Board of Directors information. The allocation of funds form has been removed and is no longer required. The certification of contractor information in the Child Development Information System, CDMIS, form is now included in the CFA application forms. The CFA includes interactive forms and a separate document with instructions. It is very critical to read the instructions before completing the CFA. The CFA forms provide auto-populating headers, user-friendly checkboxes, and pre-populated drop-down menus. For technical assistance with any of these features, please contact the ELCD CFA team by email at cfa@cde.ca.gov. We will be happy to resolve any difficulties. For the most efficient technical assistance, please include a name and a callback number on all inquiries. Allow up to 24 hours for a response from the CFA team. Here is a brief outline of the CFA webinar. First, we will briefly present the statutory and regulatory background information. Then we will cover the submission requirements. Module 1 will provide guidance through the CFA forms. Module 2 of the webinar includes instructions on the CFA attachments. Let's get started. We will begin the CFA webinar by reviewing the regulations that mandate CFAs. Why do contractors have to submit the CFA? Statutory background. According to the California Code of Regulations, Title V, contractors that intend to accept the offer to continue services in the subsequent contract period shall respond to a CFA request from the Child Development Division in accordance with instructions and timelines specified in the request. Be advised, failure to respond within the timelines specified in the CFA shall constitute a notification to the Child Development Division of the contractor's intent to discontinue services at the end of the current contract period. In other words, contractors complete the CFA to notify the CDE of an intent to continue serving children. If the CDE does not receive your CFA, we may assume that your agency does not intend to continue providing services in the upcoming fiscal year. Application submission requirements. As previously mentioned, contractors may submit their application either electronically or by physical mail. Electronic submissions are encouraged. In choosing to submit the CFA electronically, email all forms and required attachments to cfa@cde.ca.gov. Additionally, include the following statement in the body of the email. By submitting the attached, I certify that I am authorized to submit and have approved this continued funding application for insert your agency number, vendor number, insert your vendor number here. All forms requiring a signature must be digitally signed by the contractor's authorized representative. Alternatively, the forms may be also printed, physically signed, and scanned for electronic submission. Application submission requirements. If choosing to submit the CFA by mail, the CFA and all attachments must be printed single-sided. All original CFA forms must be signed in blue ink by the contractor's authorized representative. If blue ink is not used, the contract will be returned for proper signature. Mail the completed packets to the following address: Continued Funding Application, Fiscal Year 2021-22, Early Learning and Care Division, California Department of Education, 1430 N Street, Suite 3410, Sacramento, California, 95814-5901. Remember to keep a copy of your application for your files. Please pay close attention to these instructions to ensure that your CFA is processed in time. The CFA must be received on or before 5 p.m. on November the 10th, 2020, regardless of electronic or physical application submission. CFA signature pages. The following documents must be signed and included in the completed CFA packet with a signature unless exempt. Section 5, Personnel Certification. Section 6, Subcontractor Certification. Section 7, Contractor Certification. Section 8, Certification of Contractor Information in the CDMIS, and Payee Data Record, Standard Form 204. Only private entities must include a signed Payee Data Record form. This list is provided as a reference for all contractors. Refer to the CFA instructions for further details regarding which programs and agencies are exempt from completing certain forms. A list of all the items that require a signature is also located on page 1 of the CFA instructions. The last page of the CFA is a checklist that also serves as a tool to ensure your CFA is completed and signed appropriately. My colleague Stephen will continue with the presentation.
Module 1, CFA Forms. Our focus now moves to Module 1, the actual completion of the CFA forms. Tip: download and save the application and forms before completing them. If you do not download and save the application to your computer, you may not be able to recover any data already entered in the unsaved application. Section 1. Contractor information is page 2 of the application. Be sure to verify that information entered in these boxes is accurate, as the contractor's legal name, headquartered county, and vendor number will auto-populate in the header of subsequent pages. The headquartered county, or HQ, is considered the county where 1. Contractors have provided child care services in the service delivery area, or 2. Where contractors have their primary administrative office. Let me give you an important tip. We would like to emphasize this detail, as many agencies submitted incorrect information last year. Please make sure that you verify the executive director's information and contractor's legal business address match the information in CDMIS. If the contractor has a P.O. box or if the mailing address is different than the legal business address, enter the complete mailing address. Section 2, Contract Types. This section is located on page 3 of the application. Check all applicable boxes to indicate the programs you intend to continue to administer in fiscal year 2021 to 2022. The contractor agrees to continue implementation of these programs with funds provided by the CDE. Section 3, Contractors, Officers, and Board of Directors Information. This section is located on page 4 of the application. Answer the questions by checking the yes or no boxes and provide additional explanations as required. For the first question, if no is selected, indicate the entity type such as sole proprietorship, partnerships, etc. in the next text box and include the governance structure, specifically the number of owners or partners, etc. as well. Complete the remaining information as instructed. Provide the contact information for each of the current year contractors, officers, and board of directors or governing individuals. For non-local educational agencies, each individual must provide their own personal contact information that is not associated with the organization. Attach additional sheets as necessary. Maria will now continue with the presentation.
Section 4, Program Narrative Form. This form is located on page 5 of the application. This form is to identify whether or not any of your contracts have programmatic or calendar changes. All contractors with programmatic or calendar changes must also submit the Program Narrative Change Form, ELCD 3704A. This form can be downloaded from the CFA webpage. A change in the minimum days of operation, MDO, is considered a calendar change that results in a program narrative change and requires Form ELCD 3704A to be completed. Any change in how programs are administered are considered programmatic changes that also require the Form ELCD 3704A. It is very important to verify the contract types selected in either Section 4A or 4B on the form. Please note that program calendars must be submitted for all program types, even if there are no changes to the MDO from the previous year. We will now walk through 2 examples of how a contractor may fill out this form. Example 1. Contractor operates programs that do not have any programmatic and calendar changes. In Section 4A, check the box besides each of the contract types the contractor operates that do not have any programmatic and calendar changes. Be sure to check all the boxes that apply to your agency. Contractors in this example are not required to attach the Program Narrative Change Form ELCD 3704A. Example 2. Contractor operates programs that do have programmatic and/or calendar changes. In Section 4B, check the box beside each contract types the contractor operates that do have either a programmatic change or a calendar change. For each contract type selected in this section, complete a separate Form ELCD 3704A. The program narrative change form is required to define the requested changes and must be completed for each contract type. Section 5. The personnel certification is located on page 6 of the application. The CDE requires all center-based and family child care home education network contractors to employ fully qualified personnel. The authorized representative signing certifies they understand the staffing requirements. The personnel certification form is not required for agencies that only operate alternative payment, AP, and resource and referral, R&R programs. Contractors should complete the personnel certification as instructed on page 6 of the CFA instructions. Section 6. The subcontract certification form is on page 7 of the application. This form must be signed by all contractors that operate any of the corresponding contract types identified on the form. Check the boxes with corresponding contract type or types. The AP only and R&R programs are exempt from completing this form. We will now walk you through 2 examples. Example 1. The contractor does not subcontract direct services. In section 6A, please check the box beside each contract type, if any, the contractor operates that does not have subcontractors. Be sure to check all the boxes that apply to your agency. Contractors in this example are not required to attach the subcontractor information form, ELCD 3704B. Example 2. The contractor does subcontract direct services. In section 6B, please check the box beside each contract type or types, if any, the contractor operates that do have subcontractors. Next, contractors must complete and submit a separate ELCD 3704B for each contract type identified that have subcontractors. This form can be downloaded from the CFA webpage. Section 7. The contractor certification is located on page 8 of the application. This section certifies that the contractor complies with all the applicable program statutes and regulations. Carefully read through the statements, sign the form, and complete all requested information. Section 8. The certification of contractor information in the CDMIS is located on page 9 of the application. Contractors are required to update all information in the CDMIS. Information in CDMIS becomes part of the agency's contract. Only super users designated by the agency can access the Update Agency Information function within CDMIS. Update the site license information. Click on each site to verify that the information for the site is correct. A tip for licensed facilities. Provide the license issued by the Community Care Licensing Division. Update the number of children served by contracts at sites, offices to reflect services as of September the 8th, 2020. Once you have entered all changes, complete Section 8 of the application or generate and print the Agency Information Certification Form in CDMIS. The contractor's representative must sign and date the form and include it with the CFA. All changes submitted will remain pending until reviewed by your assigned consultant. Tip: if changes are still pending approval, contractors should still complete Section 8 or generate and print the Agency Information Certification Form. If you have any ongoing updates, submit them as changes occur. The number of children served by contract and age group at each site or office only needs to be updated once a year during the CFA process. Contact your assigned consultant for instructions on how to change your contractor's legal name or mailing address. A specific documentation is required to process the change. For CDMIS questions and technical assistance, contact CDMIS staff by phone at 916-445-1907 or by email at cdmis@cde.ca.gov. This concludes the instructions for the CFA forms. Stephen will now continue with the webinar.
Module 2. The next section covers Module 2, the CFA attachments. Remember to download and save the attachments before completing the forms. Section 9. Required attachments are listed on page 10 of the application. All attachments must be completed and included in the application, as applicable. These attachments can be found on the CFA webpage. A. Program Calendar for Fiscal Year 2021 to 2022. Form ELCD 9730. B. Payee Data Record. Form STD 204. This item is for non-public agencies only. C. Secretary of State. This item is for non-public agencies only. D. Verification of school district name and address. This item is for colleges, county offices of education, and local educational agencies. E. Program Narrative Change. Form ELCD 3704A. F. Subcontract Information. Form ELCD 3704B. Attachment A. Program Calendar. Form ELCD 9730. The program calendar is required for all contract types and must be completed separately for each contract. The 2021 to 2022 program calendar is available on the CFA webpage. At the top of the form, enter the name of the contractor, vendor number, county, and contract type. Next, enter an uppercase X for all days that the program will serve subsidized children during the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 contract period for center-based programs and family childcare home education networks. The alternative payment and resource and referral programs should mark the days the program office is open for business. The total number of days marked with an X will be the contract's minimum days of operation, or MDO. Remember to submit a separate calendar for each contract type that the contractor operates. MDO changes. For changes to the MDO, complete and submit a Program Narrative Change Form, ELCD 3704A, to justify changes to the previously approved MDO. If the MDO changes after the submission of the CFA, contractors should justify the change by submitting revised calendars and program narrative change forms for approval by your assigned consultant. Program narrative changes for fiscal year 2021 to 2022 are due by June 30th, 2021. Attachment B, Payee Data Record. Non-public agencies must download and complete the State of California Payee Data Record Form STD-204. Complete the STD-204 as instructed on page 11 of the CFA instructions. Please make sure the mailing address and business address match the information submitted in Section 1 of the CFA. Attachment C, Secretary of State. Non-public agencies must provide verification of their agency status with the Secretary of State. Detailed steps on how to do this are located on page 12 of the CFA instructions. Contractors that are required to register with the Secretary of State must have an active status. If the contractor's status is listed as inactive, contact your assigned consultant immediately. Tip: the name and address listed on the Secretary of State page must match the Payee Data Record form and Section 1 of the CFA. Attachment D, verification of school district name and address. This attachment is for public agencies only. Detailed steps for how to complete this are on page 13 of the CFA instructions. Save or print a verification of your district or county office legal name and address as instructed. The information must match the information submitted in Section 1 of the application. Attachment E, Program Narrative Change Form ELCD 3704A. Only contractors who have selected contract types in Section 4B must complete this form. Answer all questions as prompted. A separate form must be completed for each contract type that has programmatic or calendar changes. Detailed instructions for this form can be found on page 13 of the CFA instructions. Attachment F, Subcontractor Certification Form ELCD 3704B. Only the agencies who selected contract types in Section 6B must complete this form. Complete the form as instructed on page 14 of the CFA instructions. Remember that a separate form must be completed for each contract type. Lastly, Section 10, Application Checklist. The CFA checklist is on page 11 of the application. Don't forget, the checklist must be submitted with your CFA. Check all of the boxes for documents you are submitting. Contact information. For questions and technical assistance with the CFA, contact the ELCD CFA team by email at cfa@cde.ca.gov. This concludes the CFA webinar.